there, Internet. It's Rosie. I hope you are having a great day. Today, I would like to show you how I make a pleated skirt. Now, I want to be very clear right now. I'm not going to show you how to make the best pleated skirt in the world that's up to every classically trained sewist standards. I'm not going to show you how to install a zipper like a classically trained sewist. I'm going to show you how to make a very simple, very fun, enjoyable to wear project that's very easy. And so I'm not going to do every little nuanced step or hammer home the details. I'm going to make it accessible to the new sewist, to the sometime sewist, to the hobbyist sewist, to the, my body just changed a lot for some reason, and I want a few great looking things I can wear right now. I want a few fun seasonal pieces that are going to get me out of a rut emotionally, fashion-wise, whatever's going on for you. So this is one of my favorite pleat skirts, and this will be a good opportunity to talk about where I wear my skirts. People often say, Rosie, I think I'm built like you, but my clothes don't look like you, so clearly you're a witch. And I'm like, that's true. But I want to highlight something for you, which is to say where you cut your skirt in terms of where you put it on your waist. I wear mine almost on my ribs. That's just where it feels good to me. Or I could do my natural waist, my hip, my low hip. It's up to you, but I want to encourage you to play with that because it's going to influence how your clothes look and how they feel. For me, being very, very much apple or pear-shaped, with my middle being one of my fullest parts, if I try to wear a skirt that's cut right on my natural waist, there's a good probability it's either going up or going down. Because I'm round like a ball. It's going somewhere. It's not going to stay there. But we are going to make a skirt. Oh, and speaking of lengths, I like to cut most of my skirts so they hit just below my knee because I'm always crawling around on the floor with kids and dogs. But maybe like a shorter skirt, and maybe like an ankle length skirt. Play with that, okay? There's not a right way, there's a your way, and that's okay. So, take a not stretchy skirt or pair of pants that you like that hits you where you want your skirt to hit you. And you're going to measure the waist. Because you're not sewing with a stretchy fabric, it's important that you're not measuring a stretchy fabric for reference, okay? So I'm laying this flat on the table, and I'm smoothing it out, and I'm just gonna measure. And it's about 17 inches flat, so that means it's 34 inches around. And because my waist right here is about 33 inches, that means that I can get it on my body and I have a little bit of ease. That means room for movement. So if I eat a big sandwich, skirt still fits, okay? Okay, and how much ease you like depends on your personal preferences. So I hope when you make your first woven skirt that you make it in such a way that you're not using your favorite custom fabric. You're just using something that you like well enough. Maybe hit the discount bin and buy a solid color you like that's really affordable. So that if it works out great, awesome. If it doesn't work out how you hoped, it's not your $60 a yard, broadcloth silk stuff, okay? Okay, so now that I know it's 34 inches, I'm going to show you the step that I skipped ahead to. I took a fabric that was a little longer, just a little bit longer than 34 inches because I'm going to need a seam allowance, and a little bit wider than, it's 9 inches. So what I did was at the 4.5 inch mark, I folded it in half widthwise, and I ironed it. And I stitched the sides down. See? And this is going to make up my waistband. This is going to give me a very tall waistband. It's going to be almost 4 inches when it's done. I'm going to use about a 1/2 inch for my seam allowance. But that's how tall I like it. Maybe you'd like it a little shorter. Maybe you'd like yours even taller. But once I put the stitch in the side, see how I folded it down and ironed it? I stitched it. And I'm going to use a little tool to poke out those corners. It can be a chopstick, it's fine. And then I'm gonna press it again. Now I've taken a piece of fabric that's twice as wide as my waistband, and I put a serge stitch all the way around all of the edges, okay? And this is twice as wide as my waistband. See how my waistband is 34 inches. I fold it in half and it's 17. And the fabric, don't make me math, is 68 inches. So that's how you're going to do your math for your skirt, okay? So your waistband, and then your skirt is double your waistband. So if you had a 10-inch waistband, you're making something for a child, you're going to have a piece of skirting fabric that is twice as wide as that, okay? And you'll see that I put a serged edge all the way around my fabric, all the way around. But there's other things you could do. You could put a zigzag on your sewing machine all the way around your skirting fabric, or you could use pinking shears. And that's just going to make sure that after you assemble your fabric, it's into your skirt, it's not going to be unraveling, okay? You don't want that. One of the reasons I love working with knits and do most of the time is because they're stretchy and forgiving, and they almost never unravel. So these fabrics, I can come to the edge of this that's not finished, and I can just sort of tease it apart. And we're not gonna want that, right? So we're gonna take care to protect our skirting fabric, all right? And now we're going to get into the art and the mess and the fun of doing some very, very simple pleats. And I'm going to show you a few different examples of how we can achieve a great pleated look for our skirt, okay? Okay, so now our work is to make the skirt, which is double the length of our waistband. Oh, and double the width. Mine is hitting just about my knee, and you want to measure a skirt that you like and cut the same length, leaving just a little extra for your hem, okay? And don't forget to include the waistband in that measurement so you don't end up too long or too short. So this skirt is going to be 22.5 plus 4, about 26 inches long. And that's a good length for me, but you might be quite a bit taller, or you might like a shorter skirt, or whatever it is. So, and some of you are going to be asking, but I'm a plus size. I want you to notice that to get double the length of my waistband, I have connected 2 pieces of fabric here. So what I actually have is one piece that is 33.5 inches and another piece that is 33.5 inches that I put a seam on. You just connect as many pieces as you need to make sure that your waistband fits your waist and your skirt material is double your waistband, okay? And then here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to take my skirting fabric and I'm gonna do a little fold, okay? I'm not gonna do it right on the edge because I need to save a little bit of room to put that zipper on. But I'm going to bring it over like I was folding like this, but then I'm gonna bring some back. So there's just this little sort of lasagna. And I'm going to clip or pin. And then, using this as a guide for how large I want them, I'm going to repeat the process. I'm just going to do that the whole way around the skirt. And there's lots of, so to avoid making too much bulk, I'm not placing pleats on top of pleats. Just one starts where the other ends. You can see that, right? And I'm going to repeat this so you can see again how I'm doing this. And I could be using a ruler to make sure they're exactly an inch, but I can kind of do that by feel now. So, fold over, fold some back, so that there's about an inch there. Now, fold over, fold some back. And you can really just play with this until it looks how you want it to. The big thing is that when you're done, it should be the same length as your waistband. Okay, so then I want to share with you another way that you can do your pleat that you might really like. And that is to, just like before, I fold one side in, clip it in, and I clip it into place. And then I repeat the process coming from the other side toward that pleat I folded. And this, I think, is what you're calling box pleats. And it's just another way to do it. Neither is more valid, they just have different looks. And once I have all my pleats in place in a way that I like the look of, I'm going to hold it up to my waistband and make sure that it is looking the same size. And then I'm going to very gently put a basting or stay stitch. I'm going to make the stitch on my sewing machine really wide, so it's just holding the pleat in place. And then I can take those clips off, and then we can see about attaching this waistband to this skirt. So I have a very convenient experience of my waistband is 34 inches and I have a yardstick that's 36 inches, so I can just set this down and know that when I'm at the 34-inch mark, that is as big as I need it to be. Or you can spread out your waistband on top. And I want you to just feel free to play with this. For me, and you can get as casual or as careful as you want it to be. It's really up to you. The more care you put into a pleat, the more lovely your finished product is going to look. But it gets to be whatever you want it to be. So I could go really, really quick and just go boom, 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 and that is okay. And if you're really pressed for time, I would encourage you to gather your skirt on. Just do a gather stitch at the top and then stitch it onto your waistband, because then you do not have to worry about getting your stitches your pleats just so. And if you're really taking your time with it and loving it, I would encourage you to get your iron out. So you set your pleat how you want it to go and you press it. You set your pleat how you want it to go and you press it. Okay? So I'm going to get my pleats just right and get it all clipped and put a little stay stitch in, and I'll show you how it looks once it's all set up, okay? Okay. Hello everyone. So I have played with the pleats on my skirt a couple different ways. Sorry if I made you dizzy just there. And I ended up liking it like this the most. There were lots of different options that worked, but I made a pleat, gave a little space, made another pleat, gave a little space, and they're all kind of panning to the left. And I just set it up so that it's just as long as my waistband. So now all I'm going to do is put this skirt, or what will be the skirt, through my sewing machine with a stay stitch. Just a loose basting stitch that's going to hold it together. If you want to, you can sew down your pleats a couple inches, but I never do. I don't particularly like to feel that constricted feeling of the pleats held in place, but that is something you can do, okay? And this part, I feel like all the patterns I've seen are really, really also constrictive, in that it must be folded over 1 inch with 1.5 inch gap and such and such. Really, if you like the look, then you're winning. So feel free to play with it. The only key factor here is that when you are finished, it is the same length as your waistband, okay? So we're good. So I'm going to stitch it, and then once I've got the stay stitch in, I'm going to see about attaching that waistband, okay? All right, I'm going to do that now. Okay, I stay stitched my pleats and they look pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to what's going to make up the side of the skirt. And I'm going to come to either where I pinked the edge with pinking shears, or where I serged it, or where I put a zigzag down, and I'm going to iron it, and I'm going to use the tiniest micro eensy weensy seam allowance. See what I'm doing there? And I'm going to clip that down, and I'm going to stitch it so that when we insert our zipper, everything's looking really nice. So I'm just going to stitch these sides, okay? And I'm going to use a rather small seam allowance to do it. And it's just going to go like that the whole way down. And then when I have that done on both sides of the skirt, I'm going to clip the raw edge of the waistband to the top of my pleat. And I'm just going to clip it on the whole way around, so that from side to side it's all clipped on, and stitch that on. So I'm going to do those things really quick, and then I'm going to check back with you and we'll talk about putting a zipper in, okay? Okay, so I have stitched down the sides so that when I insert my zipper, we're not going to be looking at a mess or a raggedy edge or anything like that. And now I'm going to take what is the raw edge of my waistband, and I'm just going to clip it to the top of my pleats, okay? And I'm going to clip it the whole way. And then I'm just going to stitch this on, and then we'll talk about how to put this zipper in and how to close up the back of your skirt. And then we just need a very basic hem on the bottom. And if you'd prefer, you could hem now, but I'm going to hem when I'm finished. Hello y'all, we're in my studio, and while I don't often show you the actual sewing because I know that you can feed through a machine, some of you might not have done a zipper before. So we are going to talk about how to do that. I'm over on my machine, and I have replaced my regular sewing machine with my zipper foot, but I am going to show you how I do that, don't worry. And I have a zipper that matches my fabric pretty good. See, I've attached the waistband now, so we're getting really close to completion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to one side of my skirt. And to start, I'm going to lay my zipper down so that I'm looking at the back of it. And I'm going to line that edge up to there. And while I don't normally love pins, I am going to use a pin today. I'm going to use a couple pins to hold this in place. All right, so we're looking at the wrong side of the zipper so that when it is stitched down and it flips out, we'll be looking at the correct side. It'll be a functional zipper. And my zipper is a little bit longer than I need. I could probably get away with about 9 inches, and this one's about 12, but that also works for my purposes. I have a pretty well padded posterior, so having a longer zipper just makes it a little easier to get into my skirt, and doesn't affect the fit or function, or in my opinion, how adorable it is. So now that my zipper is all pinned on, I'm going to show it to you. And I'm going to turn my camera around so that you can see my sewing machine. And we'll talk a little bit about how to change your sewing machine feet on the Brother model. Okay, here we are at my sewing machine. And I can use this lever just here to lift up. And there is a little black button on the back of my machine that I can depress to take the sewing machine foot off. And then I can just work the lever to get that foot to snap back on. And I have the zipper sewing foot on there right now. So I am just going to start sewing this together, and my machine is threaded as normal, and I'm just using a regular straight stitch. So I'm going to start sewing, but remember how we clipped it near the top? This thing often gets in the way, so we're not actually going to start sewing at the very top. I'm going to remove the second pin, and I'm going to drop my foot down right about here, about an inch after the sewing machine starts, and we'll come back to that area in a minute, okay? Have a look in there. See, we're not starting at the terminal edge, and we're going to work slowly, okay? Straight we can work, the better this is going to look when it's finished. And we don't sew over our pins. Ooh, I'm getting all speedy. We don't want to do that. Okay, so remember how, I'm just going to snip this thread. Remember how we didn't sew the top of the zipper because the metal toggle is in the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my zipper out, looking good, huh? And I am going to pull it down a couple inches so that I can sew up here without fighting around that toggle. I know, save your applause to the end, but I actually think that's pretty amazing because I used to really struggle with how on earth do you do that? All right, wonderful. And we really want to take care to snip off stray threads that are near our zippers because we don't want them getting hung up in the teeth of our zipper. But I just pulled that zipper back up, and look how nice that looks. Awesome, right? So now, we're going to take this skirt, right? And see how it wants to keep folding down. We're going to come over, and we're going to line it up to what is going to be the other side of the skirt. And now, we're going to pin the side of the zipper that's not sewn to anything to this other side of the skirt, right? So that when we're looking at it, it's going to look like this. So again, this part of the zipper, the right side of the zipper, we're going to bring the skirt over and lay it on top of there. And we're going to pin. And just like before, we're not going to start at the terminal edge because we can start an inch or so below, and then when we get to the bottom, we can pull our zipper toggle down and then work through like that, and it's just going to be lovely. Love this print. It's little mushrooms. So cute. I had no idea I had this, and that's one big vote against having a massive fabric stash, because I had no idea I had this. I have no idea where I got it from. I have zero recollection of buying it, so I'm guessing it came in like a mystery lot or something. And then when I wasn't doing a lot of woven, I just stuck it in my stack of woven fabric, and there it sat for who knows how long. So I am currently making the switch to keeping a much smaller stash of fabric, just buying a couple pieces of fabric that really inspire me for each season, and if I don't use it, I give it to a friend or donate it or resell it, but no more huge stash. Not for me. I don't want to deal with it. So now we are at the other side, right? And I'm just gonna sew. I'm just gonna sew it, and I am not going to work right up to the metal toggle, remember? Now, because it's easier for me on this machine, I'm going to sew from the bottom of the zipper to almost the top, but I'm going to stop long before I get anywhere near that toggle so it doesn't give me any grief. Ooh, slow down. Too fast. Getting close. Alright, so I'm going to back stitch a little bit. I'm going to stop and take it off my machine and take care to trim those threads out so that they don't get stuck on me. I'm going to take a look. It's looking really good. So I'm going to pull this pin out. I'm going to pull the zipper down a few inches and then just stitch right here, okay? Fun. I forgot how much fun wovens are when you just like take the pressure off. And you just keep it light and simple. And now I'm at my top. I'm going to back stitch a little. Cool. And I'm going to, again, snip all those threads off because we don't want them anywhere near our zipper teeth. They're off. And when I pull the zipper up, would you look at me now? Doesn't that look awesome? Okay. So now, it's a choose your own adventure ride. You can press, you can run your iron over this and press down and top stitch around your zipper, or you can leave it. It's none of my business. But here's the step that really has to happen. We're gonna turn the skirt back inside out. We're gonna come to the bottom of where the zipper is, and then there's a big flappy openness, right? So what we're gonna do, now that I'm done with pins, I'm gonna switch back to my clips, and I'm just gonna clip this all together. This part's open. All right. And I'm gonna fold and clip just a little bit past the end of the zipper. And I'm actually going to very carefully and repeatedly sew over my zipper, taking care not to break my needle. I'm going to switch back to my sewing machine foot. So I just depressed the lever, took that out. I'm gonna put it in my clip box so I don't lose it. I'm putting my regular foot back on. And I'm just gonna sew over that so that my skirt is good and closed. And I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna turn the view so you can see. When I'm going over something really thick or really heavy, did you know on most machines you can just crank your wheel instead of actually sewing? So I'm just gonna crank a few stitches so that my machine is not moving quickly over that thick zipper. All right. And now I'm past the zipper, and I'm just gonna stitch, taking care not to hit my pins as I go, or my clip. Now, the more you press and top stitch, the better your woven piece gets to look and lay and feel. But you cannot stress it enough. It's your skirt. Do what you like. If you don't care about those details, doing the extra stresses you out, then skip it. It's yours, okay? It's yours. It's yours. It's yours. All right. So I'm gonna, now that it's stitched together, I'm gonna go to where I hand cranked over the zipper, and I'm just gonna put a few more stitches through very, very, very slowly so that it's well reinforced. All right, awesome. Okay, so it's all stitched. I'm gonna turn out my skirt and see how everything is looking. Yeah, awesome. Let's take that zipper for a test drive. Everything's going great. So I'm going to pull out my iron right now, and I'm gonna iron this up so that the right side of the fabric is coming in toward the wrong side, and I'm gonna then stitch along here and do my hem. And this is a time where if you wanted to, you could attach a rickrack trim or a lace or any other number of things. And I'm actually going to do some top stitching because I do like it, but I can't stress it enough. If you don't do it. Don't stress about that. It's not fun. There are times where I haven't, and that's okay. I'm gonna top stitch around my zipper so that it looks all snazzy, but I'm gonna take my time with it and do a little hang-out sewing. And I'm gonna press down all my pleats, and I'm gonna show y'all how it came together, and I hope you like it. Hey y'all, I finished my top stitching, and I'm so pleased with how this came together. I love these mushrooms so much. Look how cute they are. But I put my little stitches on, so my pleats are going to stay sitting pretty nicely and be pretty easy to press down. And I top stitched around my zipper, and I did my hem, and we are good to go. And again, that formula is just so simple and fun and easy. You want to have a little bit of ease, so let's say your waist or wherever you're setting your skirt is 33 inches. I went ahead and put a 34-inch waistband, so I have a little bit of room to breathe. And then I take a piece of material that was twice as wide as that, so about 68 inches. And then I just put a little hem on it, so make sure that when you're accounting for the length of your skirt, that you leave room for being able to do a hem. Okay, hopefully this was fun. I had a great time putting it together, and I can't wait to see what you make. All right, y'all, take care.